Jessica Chobot. My favorite X-Man is Adam X, the Extreme, and this is Nerdist News. Not really though, but it was pretty cool that he could set people's blood on fire. I do like that. The new X-Men Apocalypse trailer is here and it looks appropriately huge. So huge, in fact, that I think it just might be time for another Nerdist News trailer breakdown. Echo effect. Was I supposed to read that? I'm just kidding. I know I'm not. First up, a nice shot of beautiful foggy Westchester, New York, and the X-Mansion, which is reopened after James McAvoy's Professor Xavier got his together following the events of X-Men Days of Future Past. Class is clearly in session, although for some reason it's happening in the middle of the foyer and not in one of the bajillion rooms in that gigantic house. Next, it's off to ancient Egypt, where we get a glimpse at, apparently, a little origin sequence for Apocalypse. But wait a minute. Is that a regular Oscar Isaac? If we're not mistaken, the comic books, specifically Rise of the Apocalypse and, oh yeah, the end credits sequence in Days of Future Past, promised us an Apocalypse that was born with gray skin, but whatever. At least this mystic ancient Egyptian technology looks super cool. Are they imprisoning Apocalypse, bringing him back to life? Are these other mutants surrounding him? Probably not, as he's the first mutant, but maybe he gave them powers like he does in the comics. Is there a reason they all kind of look like Storm with those sweet, sweet mohawks? And speaking of which, check out that non-white-haired Storm meeting presumably Apocalypse for the first time. Will we see the beginnings of her life as a thief in Africa? And while we're playing catch-up, looks like Magneto's been living in solitude as a steel mill worker, which is where Apocalypse will apparently recruit him to be one of the 4 horsemen. Will Magneto do some cool Magneto stuff with molten metal? God, I hope so. Don't waste this opportunity, Singer! A pre-Horseman Angel appears to be cage-fighting Nightcrawler in a nice nod to the first X-Men movie, and are those some military-type dudes and gun-toting guards watching the match? Is this a recruitment thing, or just a shady underground boy fighting club? Plus, check out Nightcrawler's sweet Bavarian circus clothes. Looks like his origin story will be relatively intact. That said, glad he ditches the pajamas for some real duds later on in the movie. Is that Michael Jackson's Thriller jacket? Hell yeah. Oh, and why is Havoc using his powers inside Cerebro? I don't want to accidentally spoil stuff by guessing. Potential spoiler. But considering he's not in literally any of the rest of the trailer's scenes, I'm gonna go ahead and say that he probably bites the bullet there. But enough of this setup, let's get to the action. We get a glimpse of what looks to be the destruction of the X-Mansion as discovered by Cyclops and Jean Grey at the very awkward end of a date. Oh, speaking of 80s dates, little Easter egg here for you guys. Looks like Singer pulled Ralph Macchio's Karate Kid car for those two. And it seems this also serves as that new Quicksilver sequence that took about 1 million days to shoot, a race through the exploding X-Mansion to save as many students as possible. Like that kid, just hanging out on a stairwell watching the ground literally become lava. We see some massive scale destruction, delivering on the promise that this would be a disaster movie, like a buttload of US missiles getting launched. It seems the Blackbird will see some action too, perhaps getting some kind of upgrades, and finally, what seems to be the big final showdown sequence set in Cairo, as confirmed by this street sign here. El Zahir is a district in Cairo. After Apocalypse looks over the city with his horsemen, it looks like the group rush in and just start wrecking shit. Storm rides in on some lightning. Archangel and Psylocke appear to bust the Blackbird open and hop inside. It looks like Archangel is rocking some face tattoos instead of the comic book blue skin. Perhaps fancy new Apocalypse branding to go with his new metal wings. Michael Fassbender literally transforms into Ian McKellen before our very eyes. Seriously though, is that actually Ian McKellen? I mean, it's not, but whoa. And among all the fighting, like this sweet beast Psylocke showdown, it's cool to see Jean Grey use her telekinetic powers. Look at her throwing up those rocks and wood to protect her friends. So cute. And that's all we found, but what do you guys think? Is the movie looking better? Is Apocalypse looking less like Ivan Ooze? What did you notice that we missed? Where do you think this movie will rank in this summer's superhero movies? Let's discuss. Kyle, are you talking Batman on Because Science today?
Yay, for I am Slim Jimmy. Today on Because Science, we talk about how Batman's grappling hook, if he were to catch you, it would probably rip off your leg or your arm, or you just straight up die.
Or just dislocate, right?
Oh, if you're falling for more than 5 seconds or so, you're gonna hit terminal velocity and pull enough G's and forces to rip a leg right off. I've Googled it.
What does that have to do with Slim Jim?
It's comfortable.
Oh, cool. Check it out over at Nerdist.com.